እሺ መጀመሪያ ደረጃ መልካም ሁላችሁ እንደዚሁም ደግሞ አይ ቲንክ ይሄ ሴሽን ለማጥፎ ቦክድ ነው። ስለዚህ ስትሪም እናደርጋለን ቨርቹዋሊ። ይሄም ሴሽን ካለቀ በኋላ ቨርቹዋሊ አቬለብል ይሆናል። በቅድሚያ ፋሲል እንኳን ደህና መጣ። ፋሲል ላይ ረጅም ጊዜ ነው የምታወቀው። ነገር ግን ፋሲል የፋይናንስ ላይ እዚህ ከተማ ካሉ seasoned advisors አንዱ ነው። የኛም የኦርቢት ሀልትም one of our core advisor and friend ነው። We are honored to have you here. And also the entire ecosystem is benefited by your presence. ያን ካለም በኋላ ፋሲል ማን ነው? ምንድነው የሚሰራው? ባክግራውንድ ምንድነው ከሚለውን ጀምርና እስቲ ቢያስ the way.
Good. Misarao, it's a mix of different things. Yeah. There's a little bit of consulting and advisory, investment life, financial life, transaction advice life, basically helping structure investments. A little bit of entrepreneurship behind that. Basically, ይሄን የመሳሰሉ ነገሮች ላይ ነው የምሰራው። Background in finance, accounting. No, I studied through and through, all of the designations you can think of. The only one that I'm maintaining right now is a chartered financial analyst. I'm a CFA charter holder from the Global Association of Investment Professionals based out of the US. That's basically my expertise. So now, but this space like I'm set up, I sort of blend, skills and experience from startups, ecosystem, into entrepreneurship of whatever sort, into helping build and scaling companies.
All right. በኋላ እንግዲህ ከዚህ ኮንቨርሴሽን በኋላ ብዙ ጥያቄ እንደሚኖር ተስፋ አደርጋለሁ። ሰፊ ነገር ነው ከመራ ያረከው። ትንሽ ስለ ስታርትአፕ ፋክቶሪ ምንድነው ቪዥኑ? ያንተ ሮል ምንድነው?
Good. So at Startup Factory, I'm a co-founder and I'm also a financial and operations officer, essentially. Startup Factory in Nigeria, we wanted to start off companies that can grow and scale. It does not necessarily have to be like tech businesses or tech companies more in the bottom. A key ingredient to grow and scale any business right now is taking a bit more out of it. There's constraints are in Analyst. You really have to identify your constraints and you have to have ways to do away with those constraints. Let me say, the biggest constraint that we have is Forex, right? Forex. And now, and business in general, and now if you have to rely a lot more on foreign currency earnings because that's the only way you can start, you can run a business, then you're in trouble. Right? Later on, what are the most available resources that we have? People. Yourselves, myself, we're not fully utilized. So some of the resources we can, best utilize is people, labor intensity harm and origin. Also a way of providing jobs and creating jobs. And a way to scale it is by enabling it with technology. So the Startup Factory is all about like, how can we experiment on launching companies that can grow and scale with those components around it. The other good news we know, basically failure is punished. You don't want to fail. We want to fail. If you fail, it's good. Understand why you're failing. Scrap it off, or change whatever you need to change. Retool, get back to the beginning, and then do something else. So failure is an option. It's a more of an iterative process. That's the only way we can build the next companies. One of the things we're experimenting on is a last mile distribution for whatever kind of things that an individual can take around himself to relationships, networks, family members. And now, Dela Gega that we launched essentially uses young female, either out of high school or even graduate out of college, and they don't have jobs. Then they can basically come and take personal care products from us and then go around and sell within their networks, like friends, family, and relationships. The product portfolio can increase into anything. It can be like airtime top-up, the TV subscription model. There's just a whole bunch of different things that we can sell through a network. So that's one of the ventures that we have. And that's what Startup Factory does is we're trying to solve some of those problems and make them into business. Like, another example would be, for instance, access to finance. There's no such a thing called like micro loans in value that can be very transformative. So one of the things that we'll be engaging is to sort of find a way where we can provide, access to finance, micro loans. That also goes alongside with our agents who will be like, so any mistake.
Interesting.
There are quite a few other projects that I'm involved with, but
sure. I think for the benefit of the conversation, investment, of course, Startup Factory, Andu is one of a company, one of venture and co-founder Kona, actively involved in Tarek. I know Zula goes involved in Tarek. While I and then go to Nanisa, we did the Haragi and business
sure.
An experience. It's interesting. We encourage failure, fail Narek, encourage Narek, and then but at the same time, resources limited. How do you know? You're asking us a Kiselai and like a Kona and certain nigger experiment like but in Kona, which is okay. But in other context, resources limited. ገንዘብ በበደር ዲፊካልት በሆነበት ጊዜ ላይ ለምሳሌ አተጋምቼ ፋይጌን ማክሮ ሎን ብወስድ ፌለር የሚለው ነገር is not my DNA ቁጭ ብዬ ማሰላስለው ነገር አይደለም I want to make sure that I'm not failing እሱ በራሱ እንዴት ሆኖ አይተነዋል እንደ barrier to try ከመሞከር የሚይዝ ነገር አይደለ እና እንዴት ነው የምታስታርቀው በኢትዮጵያ ኮንቴክስት yes ገንዘብ ተበድረህ ካመጣ ከቤተሰብ ከወሰድ ከጓደኞች ከወሰድ obviously ፌል አደረኩኝ ብለህ እንድትል መስማት አይፈልጉም so ምናልባት access to finance የሚለውን ነገር ላይ እስቲ ካንተ ኤክስፔሪየንስ ተነሳና ምናልባት ምሳሌ ስትል ነገር ትችላለህ ሞክረው ፌል አድርገው ተምረው የተነሱ ካምፓኒዎች ካሉ ከዛ ውጪ እንዴት ታስታርቀዋለህ
Yeah. First of all, I don't recall if I'm successful on a business person that hasn't failed. And not just once, but several times. Resource it creates a sort of a poverty mentality.
Yeah.
When you have a poverty mentality, risk taking you don't have unless you take risk, there is no big reward. The big reward in the big risk. So it's all about your appetite. I failed several times in life in a whole different ways. And it's only that collection of the sum of your failures that make you a success. Or if not there, you're at the cusp of succeeding. I don't believe anyone who succeeds from the get-go has learned enough. Because easy sailing. ከዚህ ጋር ተያያዘው አሁን ፋንዲንግ ስትል ፌል ማድረጉ አይደለም በአሁኑ ሰዓት ላይ ማንኛውም ፈንድ የሚያደርግ ሰው ሎኑን ነው ምክንያቱም ሎን ሲሆን ከቤት ለምሳሌ ትልቅ ሎን ሲሆን collateral master. So you fail means you lose the house or your car.
Yeah.
Hopefully not your kids. but it's a micro loan. Failure below ነገር አብሮ embedded መሆን ይችላል. If it is angel investments, if it is like a venture capital investment, failure is baked into it. Which out of the 10 companies that a VC invests, ከዛ ውስጥ አንዱ gets a home run, wildly successful enough. 2 or 3 of them would do well. About 6 out of 10 would fail. So whoever is putting in money in businesses understands that failure is there. Can failure አስቀድመን ተቀብለን መግባት ሳይሆን ያለብን that we have to understand, we have to keep it in mind about our mind that is there. Failure and ገንዘብ ብሎ ደግሞ justify ማድረግ አይቻልም. You really have to document that. Have you been a good steward of somebody else's money? Have you had controls and governance? Have you been transparent? Are you spending someone else's money as if you're spending your own money? ከነዚህ ጋር ሁሉ ይያያዛል ማለት ነው እና ፌለር መፍራት የለበትም። ፌል ካላደረግም ወይም ፌለርን ከፈራን ላይ ኮፒካት ነው የሚኖረው። እዚህ ጋር ሽሮ ቤት ካለ I just want to make sure that I copy the ሽሮ ቤት እንዳለች ወይም ደግሞ ማርጂናል ሆነች ኢምፕሩቭመንት ምናልባት ትንሽ የሚታካፈት ነገር ጨምርበታል ነው። እዛ ጋር ህንፃ ሰርቶ ከሆነ እዚህ ጋር ህንፃ ሰራለሁ። ይሄ ማለት በጣም ሊሚት ያደርገናል፣ ሊያሳድገን አይችልም። ያሉን ችግሮች ደግሞ መፍታትም አንችልም። አለበለዚያ ደግሞ ፕራይቬት ሴክተሩ ወይም the most promising component of the economy perform ሳያደርግ we'll be waiting for the government to come up with some grand ideas and grand plans. And guess what? When the government comes with grand plans and ideas, it's on your own money. And just like everyone else, the government also could fail. There are big projects that we know have failed. And so it's not like and so inherently it should be like it's part of the system that you should be able to, or you should be allowed to fail. You should be able to reiterate and come out of it and do better.
I think the focus should not be on failure necessarily. Okay, preconditions are አይደለም successful ለመሆን ተነስቶ ምናልባት ይሄ ሪስክ የምንለው ነገር ሁላ ፕሮፐርሊ አሰስ አድርጎ አለማወቅም ይመስለኛል። አሁን ቅድም የሰጠው ምሳሌ ኢንትረስቲንግ ለምንድን ነው ለምሳሌ አንድ ሰክሰስፉል ሽሮ ቤት ካለ አጠገቡ ሽሮ ቤት የሚከፈተው ስንል ይሄ ሰክሰስፉል የሆነው ሽሮ ቤት የነበረው ፌሊየር ሰዎች አያዩም ማለት ነው። ስለዚህ የሚያዩት ግን ብዙ ትራፊክ እንዳለው ስለሆነ they assume that ይሄ ሽሮ ቤት ሰክሰስፉል እንደሆነ so that እነሱም ሰክሰስፉል እንደሚሆኑ assume ያደርጋሉ። So ግን they are taking risk. In a way, risk ምንድነው calculated risk ይመስላል። በዚህ የሆነ ሰክሰስፉል የሆነ ካምፓኒ ስላለ እኔ ብከፍት አልወርቅም አይነት ነገር ነው የሚሆነው። But rather ምናልባት ይሄን ወደ ሰው ፋሲል what are the preconditions of investor idea? Because አሁን ትልቁ አይዲያውና አይዲያው ቫልዩ ነው የሚለው ነገር ላይ ቢሰራ ሰው ሽሮ ቤት ሳይሆን የሚከፍተው ምንድነው እኔ ኢንትረስት የሚያደርገኝ ይሄ አይዲያ ሊሰራ ይችላል ወይ ብሎ obviously all the right steps and procedures ከተከተለ በኋላ ሊከፍት ይችላል። ነገር ግን ይሄ ሾርትከት አይወስድም ወይ ደግሞ the person would not sort of ይሄንን መዘጋጀት ያለበትን ነገር bypass አያደርግም እና how do you value an idea, a business or a company? How do you prepare it? Investment ready. Then really ከሆነ fail ብታደርግም you have not really failed because you've done your preparation ahead of time. አይደለም ተዘጋጅተሃል። Now what are the preconditions? What are the prerequisites to actually pause and ask yourself to have an investable idea, to have an investable company? Am I investor ready? As a startup.
Right. So this is never easy. It's a very iterative process to come up with investable ideas. One way of it is like copy management, which we have talked about. Good, no, copying is not going to get me anywhere. Good, I want to do something. The yet kind of do we step back and then see need at the do we have a good grasp of your need ምንድነው ምን ያህል ነው የሚለው ነገር እናስባለን ወይ ከዛ ደግሞ can we come up with market-based solutions to address that need that እናስባለን ይሄንን ስል ደግሞ ማርኬት ሳይዙ ምን ያህል ነው ምን ያህል ተጠቃሚ ይኖራል ምን ያህል ገንዘብ መግባት መቻል አለበት ምን ያህል ገንዘብ ወጪ ያስደርጋል ከዛ በኋላ what's return investment የሚሉ ነገሮች ይመጣሉ ስለዚህ deliberate በሆነ መልኩ ቁጭ ብለን ቢዝነስ ፕላናችን እንሰራለን ከዛስ በኋላ ደግሞ ፈንዲንግ ፕላናችን እናወጣለን I'll give you an example. One of the things that I'm involved in, the oxygen. One of the projects that I'm very much involved in is like the oxygen, the medical oxygen effect, and they are again no solve that. Since the medical need one supply. Demand was the medical sub-Saharan Africa, 10% አይደርስም ገንዘብ አምጥተን ኮመርሻል መኒ እናስገባበት ብንል ይሄ ነገር ሪተርን ኢንቨስትመንት ያመጣል ብለን ስንመለከትና it does not አሁን ሁሉም አይዲያ ሪተርን ኢንቨስትመንት ካላመጣ አንሰራው ማለት አይደለም then you have to find a way to blend your finances then you have to ask for like grants and other funds እሱን ደግሞ justify ለማድረግ donor funds and grants በሆነ ሰዓት ላይ ሲመጡ ራሱ how can you basically take an idea and assume that you can grow and scale it or replicate it several more times oxygen by its nature but heavy machine just like cement cement factory ከተደረገ ከተወሰነ ኪሎ ሜትር በኋላ ትራንስፖርት አገልግሎት but it's just like መሬትን ነው የሚያደርገው same as oxygen is like atmospheric pressure so the cost of transportation becomes so much more uneconomical. So what should we do? Then you have to look for technologies that are there. There's pressure swing absorption by PSA plants. Under what I have asked, it also localities in cost effectively economically. We can raise the funding in a form of grants, raise some commercial money, blend it, fund those. And Zara Ethiopia is under Nagari about an oxygen plant because there are easy ways to make money if you have money. Then you're not necessarily addressing a need. Then by doing that, we came up with a franchise model where, essentially, we'll have to create, tens of them. It could be like Kasalas Arba, eventually up to 100 of them that are serving certain localities here and there. Pretty much like the McDonald's franchise model. You're not going to be driving like 30 kilometers to get a McDonald's. So, so we want to make sure that there's investor returns for the ones that are providing commercial money because we're able to blend it and then use it as a grant money. So, investable ideas in balloon and we met off from a need now. And then once you have that need, then you find a way of like how accurate the need is enough. If you're not able to attract money from commercial sources, can you attract money from other sources? Because our deliberative process, now you're accountable to other people, your funders, grants you commercial money. You have to make sure that you have your process laid out, you have your risk management systems in place, you have controls and governance in place, you have the proper staffing and structure, that you have reporting. All of that needs to be in place. So that's what makes a business successful. And that's the beef that makes it less likely to fail. But if it has to fail, you really have to regroup back and say like, what did we do wrong? But you should be able to justify that you have all the things figured out to put yourself in a slack.
So it's interesting. One side complexness. Good bullet plan business plans within the business plan, business model. Right on the way, you don't actually need to market on the way. Investment plan like local investor. በቀላሉ ጻፈቱ የሚያከራይ ከሆነ በህንፃው 10x 10 እጥፍ 20 እጥፍ ፕሮፊት የሚያገኝ ከሆነ ኢንሰንቲቭ የለው። በተለይ ስታርታፕ ወይም ቴክ ስታርታፕ ብለን ስንመለከት በአንድ ቀን ማታ ፍሎሪሽ አድርጎ በአንድ ቀን ማታ አድርጎ ምናምን ፍሬም ታፈራበት እና ብዙ ጊዜ ሰዎች ስትራግል የሚያደርጉት በተለይ አይዲያ ያላቸው ሰዎች ወጥተውም እንዳይሞክሩ የሚያደርገው ኮምፕሌክስ ይመስላል ሲታሰብ። ሶ ምናልባት በኢትዮጵያ ኮንቴክስት let's say someone has a great idea እና a blended financing a little bit abstract የሚመስል ግን due diligence የሚጠይቅ ስራ አለ። እዛ ጋር ሳይደርስ ግን ሀሳቡን ይዞ ወጥቶ ለመሞከር እና ወደ ማርኬቱ የሚደርስ ፕሮዳክት ለመስራት ምን አይነት ኢንቨስትመንት ኦፕሽኖች አሉ? Just in the light of Ethiopia and Sub-Saharan Africa.